Hello everybody and welcome back to another match reaction. It finished today in the CAFC derby down the valley. Charlton Athletic 2, Crewe Alexandra 0. Finally, Nigel Adkins' Red Army are off the mark in the 2021-22 season, and today we have to say was a lot better. And despite there being a lot of opportunities from the opposition, it was a fairly dominant and comfortable afternoon for the Red Army, and Charlton come away finally with our first 3 points of the season. It just feels good to finally win a game of football. Nigel did make a formation change as he went from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2, which is what I have been crying out for him to do since the beginning of the season. And with that formation change came one change to the starting 11 as Conor Washington came into the team in place of midfielder George Dobson, who wasn't actually on the bench. He was left out of the squad entirely. It isn't injury related as to why he was out of the squad. Nigel Adkins did confirm that. He just decided not to pick him today. I felt that it was a pretty decent 11 and I was really excited to see this 4-4-2 in action. Of course, Stockley and Washington up front. Stockley, thank God, finally won't be the lone striker. Then you've got Morgan playing a bit of a deeper role in the centre as opposed to playing in the number 10. Gunter playing left back was my only concern going into the game. I was not looking forward to seeing him play in that position. But yeah, other than that, I must say that it was a pretty decent starting 11. As for David Artell's Crewe Alexandra, a couple of players within that side for Crewe that I was keeping an eye on. Jayesimi in goal, I knew that he was a pretty decent keeper at this level. Addicks as well, young, youthful left back in their side. Michael Mandron did very well for them up front last season. Obviously, notable absentees being Owen Dale and Tom Lowry. Tom Lowry supposedly is making a move away from Crewe, hence why he's no longer involved, whereas Owen Dale, I believe, has an illness, although he is also rumoured to be leaving the club as well. So that obviously was going to give us a bit of a boost. So the first half was pretty much how every single Charlton Athletic game starts out. First 15 minutes, we look really, really bright. Ryan Inniss was looking very, very dominant from set pieces in that first half. I believe he did actually force Jayesimi into a save or two in that opening spell. You know, we did look very, very bright in that 15 minutes and it looked to be pretty good. And then as every Charlton game goes, it tends to peter out a little bit. The atmosphere goes flat and Crewe got back into the game for after that 15-minute mark. And for the next 15 minutes, Crewe got back into the game, and to be honest with you, I don't know how we allowed them to do that, because the first 15 minutes we looked really, really comfortable. You know, we were getting forward well. Crewe didn't threaten us at all during that open 15, but after that 15-minute spell ended, Crewe just came forward. They got caught offside a couple of times, and to be honest with you, during that 15-minute spell where Crewe got back into the game, they didn't really threaten us. The major chance they had was Callum McFadzean. The ball got crossed in on the right side. It wasn't dealt with properly. McFadzean won the header at the back post, but MacGillivray came in with a pretty easy catch, it has to be said. But Crewe did come back into the game in that spell, and defensively it was a worry, you know, because we did look like we were struggling to stick a foot in. You know, it looked like we were struggling to put in a challenge, or looked like that we wanted to, really. We just let Crewe on occasion just walk through us. As I say, they were caught offside a couple of times, but it was still pretty easy for them to get through. And then after that half an hour mark, we were back into it, looked dominant again, and eventually we would break the deadlock through Diallang Jaiyesimi, the player that I have been saying throughout this season so far that he looks a very good player technically, but just lacks the end product. And today he finally showed that end product. Cross came in on the left-hand side from the left foot of Gunter, which I definitely would not have predicted going into that game. The cross came in, Jaiyesimi at the back post with the header, past Jayesimi for 1-0. Fantastic from Jaiyesimi. A brilliant cross from Gunter. Actually, not long after taking the lead, Crewe did have a very good opportunity to draw level almost instantly. Literally a couple minutes later, ball got played in on the right-hand side in towards the far post. I think it was Mandron or someone like that, Ainley, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but come in towards the front post, shot at the near post, and MacGillivray got forced into a really good save. He done really, really well to get across and make that save. Fantastic save from MacGillivray, once again proving how good he is. Obviously, he showed how good he was against Wigan Athletic, and today again he got forced into a couple of saves within that first half, and throughout the game, it has to be said, he did put in some very, very good saves and kept us in the game. And then not long after that scare from Crewe, Charlton would double their lead through Jayden Stockley, his second of the season and our second of the afternoon. We broke on the right hand side. Jaiyesimi played the ball into the centre to Conor Washington. He threaded in a brilliant ball towards Stockley. He went through Jääskeläinen one-on-one, went past him and managed to poke it into the back of the net for 2-0, sending the covered end into absolute chaos. And that was how the first half ended. Charlton going into the break 2-0 up, and yeah, pretty positive, it has to be said, that first half for the most part. First 15, fairly dominant, then the game petered out, atmosphere went flat, and then Crewe got back into the game. And then when they didn't threaten us, eventually after the half-hour mark, we did take our chance. Jaiyesimi with the goal. They had that scare. We had that scare towards the end of that first half when MacGillivray got forced into that really good save, but eventually Stockley would make it 2-0. And yeah, as I say, a fairly positive first half. Defensively, we did look quite shaky in that 15-minute spell. For the most part, we were able to keep Crewe out. The one weakness that I would say within that first half was definitely our midfield too. On occasion, you would see that Watson and Morgan were almost playing like fullbacks or wing-backs. You would rarely see them in the centre of the pitch, and it just looked so like disjointed. There was no identity in the middle of the pitch, really. It was quite a concern for me. And the second half, again, we have to say, was fairly positive, and despite Crewe having quite a fair few opportunities within that second half, we have to say that again it was another fairly dominant and comfortable half for Charlton, and overall was a pretty comfortable afternoon for us, as we did come away with a deserved 3 points, we have to say. There was some opportunities on both ends though. Charlton did have some great opportunities within that second half. The first major one coming through Gunter, when he struck an absolute beauty of a volley, a venomous volley, which was heading straight into the back of the net, but unfortunately it did just skim past the post. It was an absolutely unbelievable effort, 25 yards out. Would not think Gunter had that in his locker, honestly. It was an absolutely spectacular effort, and had that have gone in, Jesus, it'd have been absolute scenes in the covered end. But we did have some really good opportunities within that second half. Kirk had a couple once again, obviously against his former side as well today, but he did have one early on after Gunter's volley, I think it was a couple of minutes after, where he took a shot and it just sailed over the bar. Washington got put through one-on-one against Jääskeläinen at the near post. He tried to get his body across, firing towards the far post, but unfortunately Jääskeläinen did get across and make a pretty decent save. I will give kudos to Jääskeläinen, you know, he was a very good performer for Crewe today. He was a very, very good in between the sticks and pulled off some pretty decent stops, crucial stops, should I say, for Crewe. Charlie Kirk had another one where the cross come in on the right side. Kirk caught it. I think it must have been on the half volley. It might even been on the first time, to be fair. Caught a pretty decent shot from the cross, and Jääskeläinen got across well to make a decent catch. Crewe, though, did have some opportunities as well. Kane Ramsey forced MacGillivray to a save at the near post, I do believe. Morgan headed one off the line. You know, Crewe did have their chances throughout the game. They had 13 shots in total. Charlton had 19. But even though Crewe did have that many opportunities, and they were threatening some of them, I have to say that Charlton were able to deal with them. You know, they were able to deal with them. And to be totally honest with you, I didn't really see Crewe scoring, you know, it didn't really look like that they had a goal in them. Ryan Inniss came off with about half an hour to go. He was complaining with a little bit of a knock. It didn't look very good. I see him come down a couple of times in that second half, and he eventually was relieved by Deji Elerewe, who again put in a pretty comfortable display. Elliot Lee came on for his Charlton debut, and again also looked impressive. I like the look of Lee. I think he's going to be a good player for us this season. And also Clare came on as well in for Diallang Jaiyesimi, who had a fabulous game today. Jaiyesimi was absolutely superb today. Clare came on in his place and also looked pretty decent. All of Crewe's opportunities were dealt with rather comfortably. MacGillivray got forced into a couple of saves, as I said. Morgan cleared one off the line, but in the end, we were able to keep them out. And in the final stages of the game, we had some brilliant chances to grab another goal. Washington and Morgan had shots blocked inside the penalty area, and then it came back to Stockley after a cross came in on the right side. Stockley with a brilliant header at the back post and an equally brilliant save from Jääskeläinen, we have to say. It was an absolutely unbelievable save. We couldn't find the back of the net again. We managed to keep Crewe out, and that was the full-time whistle. Charlton Athletic 2, Crewe Alexandra 0 was the final score. Ultimately, they had their chances, but MacGillivray, when he was called upon, made some fabulous saves. Defensively, we were able to deal with them, although we did look shaky early on in the first half. But that was a hell of a lot better today. You know, you could definitely see that formation change, you know, to the 4-4-2 made a massive difference. You know, Stockley finally wasn't isolated in that front two, and we had a player like Washington who could latch onto those headers. Pretty much every single header that Stockley was winning was met by another Charlton player, and Washington had a fantastic game today. I've been crying out for Atkins to play that 4-4-2, you know, and he finally did it. And it worked a treat, we have to say. It worked a treat. Our wide men looked very threatening. Jaiyesimi was superb today, absolutely excellent. Finally showed that in product. Kirk, although he didn't find the back of the net, he had some very good chances again today, and I'm confident that he will come good. Watson again was very good. I've got to give credit to him again. He was getting stuck in making those challenges. Morgan definitely needs to work on set pieces. I don't really get why he's on set pieces, to be honest with you. He needs to work on that. Couldn't cross the ball to save his life, and to be completely honest with you, I do think Morgan was the weakest link. I don't know if it's to do with lack of confidence, but he's not really started the season very well and he needs to get his act together. I've absolutely slagged him off in recent weeks, but we have to say today, Gunter was excellent. He was absolutely fantastic in the defensive line, we have to say. Got forward really well. That cross for Jaiyesimi was excellent. He had a really good effort in the second half. Obviously, that volley was absolutely incredible. If that had flown in the back of the net, that would have been insane. Defensively, we did look shaky, as I said, in the first half in that patch when Crewe did get back in the game, but ultimately we managed to keep them at bay. Hopefully Ryan Inniss' injury isn't too bad, and MacGillivray once again showed us how good he is at this level. He pulled off some really good saves when he was called upon. He kept him at bay and managed to get his second clean sheet of the season, and yeah, a very positive afternoon in SE7 for the first time this season. A very, very good display. Finally off the mark, and we can now head into the international break on the back of a victory. I can only imagine what it could have been like for over those 2 weeks had we not won today, had we been beaten by Crewe. The atmosphere, honestly, would have just been so toxic around the club and the fan base, but thank God we managed to pull off the victory. Now, of course, this is the final league game before transfer deadline day, which is, of course, next Tuesday. We do actually have a game next Tuesday in the Pat John's Trophy against Crawley Town. Not entirely sure if I'm going to go to that one, but I suspect that our reserve players, you know, Dobson probably will play. I think Clare probably would start, and obviously our youngsters. I'm really hoping that Ronnie Schwartz gets a run around in the game on Tuesday night, but obviously we don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, transfer window for the rest of the transfer window. Obviously today it was announced that we are set to sign Nottingham Forest midfielder Harry Arter on a season-long loan. Obviously offers another body in the middle of that pitch. That midfield now will be absolutely stacked if Arter comes in. Obviously we've got Gilby and Forstakowski to come back from injury as well. I think he will offer a lot of experience, and I think he'll do quite well at League One level. So it does look like we're going to get him in. As well as that, I think we do need another left-back in. You know, even though Gunter played really well today, we do need another natural left-back in that position, obviously to rival Ben Purrington when he does come back from injury. And I still think we need another striker. I still think we could do with another option up front, because I've no idea what's going on with Schwartz. And Davison is very similar to Jayden Stockley. I would like another player similar to Conor Washington that's got a bit of pace, that can get in behind the striker. You know, he can latch onto Stockley's headers. Certainly a much better performance, a lot more positive, and thank God that we are off the mark, because as I say, if we lost today, I can't imagine what the atmosphere would have been like down the valley. It would have been so toxic, but thank God we got the 3 points, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do over these next few days as the transfer window comes to a close, and what our team will look like come our next league game. So that is it for today's match reaction. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here, and turn on those post notifications so you are notified of every time I post a new video. What do you guys think of the game? Let me know in the comments below. Who do you think we should sign come deadline day? Let me know. This has been Tyler Rollington. Have a nice day, and I will see you all in the next video. Take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all then.